The Pentagon just handed $800 million in contracts to 4 frontier AI companies: OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, and xAI, and told them to build agentic workflows for warfighting. Meanwhile, the Trump-Xi summit produced a grand bargain on economics that nobody saw coming, and DARPA is open-sourcing AI tools that find software bugs for $152 a pop. This is the week the AI arms race went from metaphor to line item. From a team at the Synthetic Daily, it's Wednesday, May 20th, 2026. Good to have you with us.
We went through about 17 posts, articles, and threads across LinkedIn, Substack, and YouTube over the past week to dive deeper into the world of AI in government and defense.
Here's the headline number: 4 contracts, each worth up to $200 million, awarded to OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, and Elon Musk's xAI. The Defense Department's Chief Digital and AI Office, CDAO, issued these awards with a mandate that goes well beyond chatbots answering help desk tickets. A CDAO official described the goal as prototyping agentic workflows, semi-autonomous AI systems that can complete multi-step tasks previously handled entirely by humans.
So here's what I keep coming back to. OpenAI moved first, landing its contract back in June 2025 with nearly $2 million obligated at signing and an estimated completion date of July 2026. That means we're weeks away from seeing what that initial investment actually produced. The other 3 companies followed in July, and xAI simultaneously launched Grok for government through the General Services Administration, making its models available for purchase across the entire federal government.
What makes this different from the Pentagon buying, say, a new jet? Speed. The DoD's new AI acceleration strategy, their third in 4 years, by the way, includes a directive that vendors' latest models must be available in the classified cloud within 30 days of public release. That's a stunning shift. It took 18 months to get GPT-4 into classified environments. Now they're saying 30 days. Pentagon CTO Emil Michael framed it as delivering AI to all 3 million DoD users in a time frame of days or weeks. That's ambition bordering on audacity, especially when Michael himself acknowledged he's rebuilding talent after a significant exodus of senior technical staff during the federal workforce reduction campaign. Last August, Deputy Secretary of Defense Stephen Feinberg signed a memo that fundamentally reorganized how the Pentagon does AI. The Chief Digital and AI Office, which had been its own standalone entity, got absorbed into the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Research and Engineering. Feinberg's language was revealing. He called it creating a powerful innovation engine that could deliver AI superiority from laboratory to battlefield.
Now, why does an org chart reshuffle matter? Because it tells you where power sits. Placing CDAO under R&E means AI is now officially part of the research to deployment pipeline, not a separate advisory function. It's the difference between having a chief data officer who writes reports and having one who controls procurement dollars and can push code into production systems.
But there's a tension here. The Government Accountability Office released an audit of the Defense Innovation Unit, DU, finding persistent gaps in measuring whether prototype awards actually translate into fielded capabilities that warfighters use. The infamous valley of death in defense procurement, where promising tech goes to die between demo and deployment, hasn't gone away just because you reorganize the boxes on an org chart. Emil Michael says DU's core mission remains intact and announced a review aligning investments with 6 critical technology areas: applied AI, quantum, directed energy, battlefield information dominance, and others. But intent and execution are different things. The 30-day model availability requirement is a bet that bureaucratic speed can match commercial speed. That's never been true before in the Pentagon. All right, next up. While CDAO is focused on deploying AI, DARPA is asking the harder question: What happens when the enemy attacks your AI? Their SABER program. That's sharpening AI warfighting advantage on the battlefield through enhanced red teaming, is building what they call a duty-wide operational AI red teaming ecosystem. It's a 24-month, four-stage effort, and BAE Systems has already received the contract, confirming the program is past the conceptual stage.
The attack vector SABER is testing against are specific and sobering. Adversarial data poisoning, where an enemy corrupts the training data your AI learned from, adversarial patches, physical objects designed to fool computer vision systems, and electronic warfare attacks that could degrade AI sensor fusion in real time. These aren't theoretical concerns. If you're deploying AI to identify targets or navigate autonomous vehicles through contested airspace, you need to know how it fails before an adversary discovers that for you.
Separately, DARPA's AI Cyber Challenge wrapped up with a genuinely remarkable result. Competing AI systems demonstrated they could find and patch software vulnerabilities at an average cost of about $152 per task. To put that in perspective, a human security researcher doing equivalent work costs orders of magnitude more and takes dramatically longer. All 7 finalist teams' cyber reasoning systems are being released as open-source software, 4 were made available immediately at DEF CON. That's DARPA doing what DARPA does best, funding something ambitious, proving it works, and then giving it away so the entire ecosystem benefits. Let's talk about something completely different. Over at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, their analysts are still processing what happened at the Trump-Xi summit, and the consensus seems to be that China came away with a better deal than anyone predicted. CSIS Scott Kennedy argued that China secured a grand bargain on economic issues, a framing that surprised a lot of Washington watchers who expected trade confrontation, not accommodation.
Bonnie Lin, who directs the CSIS China Power Project, had laid out predictions before the summit about key themes, and the gap between expectations and reality became the story itself. The summit's outcome on economics appears to have created enough goodwill to create breathing room on harder issues, though Lin warns that Taiwan remains the tripwire. Her analysis is blunt. Missteps over Taiwan could threaten the current stability of the entire U.S.-China relationship and potentially trigger conflict.
The geopolitical chess gets more complex when you add the Iran dimension. CSIS Will Todman examined what Xi Jinping signaled about the conflict in Iran during the summit conversations. China's positioning, what Todman calls China's Iran gambit, suggests Beijing is trying to use the Middle East situation as leverage in its broader relationship with Washington. And then there's space. CSIS experts Clayton Swope and Brian Hart are openly asking whether China will beat the U.S. to the moon in what they're calling a 21st century space race. When you zoom out, what you see is a relationship where AI supremacy, trade economics, and military posturing are all interconnected variables in the same equation. Let me bring up something related. In December 2025, President Trump signed an executive order with a single clear message. AI governance belongs to the federal government, not 50 different state legislatures. The order creates a federal AI litigation task force. That's a unit specifically designed to sue states whose AI laws conflict with federal policy. It conditions access to federal grant funding on states' willingness to avoid enacting what the White House calls onerous AI laws.
Congress initially went even further. The House Budget Reconciliation Bill, the One Big Beautiful Bill, included a 10-year moratorium on state AI legislation. But the Senate killed that provision in spectacular fashion, voting 99-1 against penalizing states for passing their own AI laws. That's as close to unanimous bipartisan rejection as you'll ever see in modern Washington.
So where does that leave us? In a messy middle ground. The executive order is still in force, but without congressional backing for an outright moratorium, its power is limited to executive action and litigation. For defense contractors and companies building AI for government use, this actually matters a lot. If you're Anthropic or OpenAI working on classified Pentagon systems and simultaneously selling commercial products in California, Colorado, and Illinois, each with different AI transparency requirements. You're navigating a compliance maze. Uniform federal rules would simplify that. But simplify and happen are different verbs in Washington. The Senate's vote suggests that states aren't giving up their regulatory authority without a fight, no matter what the White House wants. Here's the uncomfortable subtext beneath all these ambitious Pentagon AI plans. Who's actually going to build this stuff? Emil Michael acknowledged publicly that he's rebuilding talent inside the reconstituted CDAO after what he described as a significant exodus of senior leaders and technical employees. The federal workforce reduction campaign didn't make exceptions for the people writing AI deployment architectures for national security systems.
This is the fundamental tension in the Pentagon's AI strategy. You can sign $800 million in contracts with frontier AI companies. You can mandate 30-day deployment timelines. You can reorganize your org chart to put AI at the center. But someone inside the government still has to be smart enough to manage those contracts, evaluate what the vendors deliver, and integrate it into operational systems that work at classification levels commercial engineers have never touched.
The private sector is paying AI engineers 2 to 5 times what the government offers. And now the government is simultaneously trying to move faster than it ever has before with fewer experienced people than it had a year ago. The contracts with OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, and xAI are partly an acknowledgement of this reality. You outsource what you can't staff internally. But oversight requires expertise too. The GAO audit of DIU found gaps in measuring outcomes. You can't measure what you don't understand. And understanding requires people. It's the one resource you can't procure with a contract modification. All right, let's zoom out and talk about the bigger picture. What are the main themes running through everything we covered today? The first big theme is outsourcing as strategy. The Pentagon's simultaneous talent crisis and aggressive deployment timeline reveals that frontier AI contracts aren't just procurement. They're a structural admission that the government can't build internally what it needs to field externally.
Next, speed as doctrine. The 30-day model availability mandate represents a philosophical break with defense acquisition culture, treating AI deployment latency as a national security vulnerability in itself.
Next, adversarial AI as a new domain. DARPA SABER program signals that the Pentagon has moved past asking, "Can we deploy AI?" to the harder operational question of what happens when our AI is attacked, making red teaming a first-class military function.
Next, regulatory fragmentation as competitive drag. The failed congressional moratorium and the surviving executive order create a two-track legal environment where companies serving both defense and commercial markets face growing compliance overhead that their foreign competitors don't.
And the last one, geopolitical AI entanglement. The Trump-Xi grand bargain economics, the space race, and the $800 million in Pentagon AI contracts are all facets of a single competition where technological superiority and diplomatic leverage have become inseparable.
So if you're going to take away a few things from today's episode, here's what I'd remember.
Number 1. The Pentagon is betting it can buy AI superiority faster than it can build the internal workforce to develop it, a wager that works until the contract oversight capability itself erodes.
Number 2. DARPA open sourcing AI cyber defense tools at $152 per bug is going to reshape the economics of vulnerability research for the entire software industry, not just defense.
Number 3. The Senate's 99-1 vote against a state AI law moratorium is the clearest signal that federalism will slow any attempt at unified American AI governance, which means companies operating across jurisdictions are on their own.
And finally, When you combine the Trumpy economic bargain with the simultaneous $800 million in frontier AI defense contracts, you see a strategy of talking trade while sprinting on military technology, and both sides know it.
That's the Synthetic Daily for today. All the sources and links are on the website if you want to dig deeper.
Thanks for listening. See you tomorrow.
CDAO.